Hello guys, it's Bean and I'm back with another video, and today I have r/prorevenge. If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Before I get into the video, I just want to say, should I have a webcam? Because I'm thinking about buying a webcam because I want to add like my own kind of content and stuff like that, because I want to get past just being a Reddit channel. Like, I want to add some value instead of just reading someone else's script, because that gets a bit boring. So let me know in the comments below and let's get right into the video. This one's titled, How I Made the Worst Employer in the World Lose a Multi-million-dollar Account. To be honest, the quote "I" in the title is not me, but a former colleague who does not have a Reddit account. We work together in the same ad agency. I will give my personal context first and then write her story exactly as she told me. We worked together in one of the biggest ad agencies in my country. She was a director and I was a manager in different departments. It was a global group, but it honestly sucked. I quit because I was burned out. It had a Game of Thrones politics and daily occurrence of both sexual and more harassment. That place was the worst professional experience and one of the worst personal ones I have ever had. Fuck them. Now the story. It was a long one. English not our first language. Typical. On mobile. Typical. I was hired as an account director for a huge ad agency. Let's call it FFC. My account was one of the top 5 accounts in the agency and was worth at least 7 digits. My boss, the accounts VP, was one of the worst human beings I've ever met. He was sexist, rude, and liked to play favorites. When I got there, as a young and okay looking woman, I instantly became one of his faves. He was married, by the way. One day, we left a happy hour together and he offered me a ride. I lived nearby him, so not overthinking it, I accepted. He made a move on me. I politely refused and left the car. After that, my life became a living hell. He would not include me in the important meetings and then complain I didn't know things that were discussed. My reviews went from 5 stars to 1. He pretended he didn't remember a raise he had promised. He would talk with my team and ignore me. The work, which was already hard, I worked 80 hours a week, became unbearable. I almost quit. I had a good long conversation with the agency HR, which went nowhere because she was his personal friend. I even escalated to the president, with whom I had a friendly relationship with, and he said I was reading too much into things. One thing I did right though is that I had a great relationship with my client, so they were afraid to fire me. I had helped save their account, which was almost lost when I was hired. So they played a smart hand. They hired a girl who had worked with my client on his former company, with whom he had already had a friendly relationship, to replace me with. They then put me aside on a smaller account, which was on the verge of being lost, so they could justify firing me when that happened. But then, I got lucky. My original client got promoted and opened a marketing manager position under him. When I applied, he even skipped a few hiring steps. This was October and I was about to start on January. I asked him not to disclose to the agency he had hired me until I had the chance to tell them myself. The position would not work directly with the ad agency and I no longer managed their account, so there was no conflict of interest and he said okay. Honestly, he couldn't care less. I was planning on giving them my 1-month notice, required in my country, on November so they could have time to find someone else. I was fired October 31st. It would have been the worst experience in my life if I cared. The VP asked me into his office to fire me. He said no one would believe me, that I would never find another job in the market, that I had ratted him out to HR, that I was incompetent, and all the worst things someone could have said. He sent me to the HR to sign some paper and told me to leave the building afterwards. I recorded him. When I went to HR, the woman in charge sat me down and kept making snark comments about me not appreciating working in one of the biggest ad agencies in the world, that I could have been great. I was surreal. Being fired in my country grants people a fair amount of money. I would have received around 5 months' pay per the law. She wanted me to sign the papers accepting that. I said no and played her the record from the VP. She went pale because she knew that was a lawsuit, and also that the global team would not like it at all. I left that day and said I would be in contact with them through my lawyer. Never said anything about the job lined up. The next week, I, my lawyer, my recording, and a bunch of other documents, emails, text messages, sat down with the agency to negotiate. I ended up with over 15 months pay, Both parts signed an NDA, which included me saying I had quit. I then took a 2-month vacation, told my new boss I had made a deal while quitting, but that I had not disclosed I was going to work for them. He said he would tell them himself, not to worry. Comes January and I start at my new job. My boss then tells me that, since I was the one with the most experience in advertising agencies, I would be a consultant to the annual deals for all the agencies that manage all of their accounts. This included allowing new agencies to pitch for us. My boss, which didn't deal with FFC anymore, of course forgot to tell them about me. No feelings in the world was better than entering the agency as a client. It was almost orgasmic sitting in a meeting to see their pitch and waiting for the VP's dumbstruck face when he entered the room. I was nothing but nice, made pertinent questions and smiled all the way through. I ended up telling my boss in confidence what had happened. He authorized me to advise against the agency, said that if compliance knew about their behavior, they would lose their account anyway. They lost their account, they lost 3 other accounts in the same year, the whole leadership was fired, the agency closed, the VP can't find a job for his life. And I just promoted. Holy moly, that's a lot of damage! Imagine, someone gets you fired or you just get quit, you sue them and then you just make them lose all their clients. That's some mean revenge. Think about all the poor people who got fired who isn't the VC. Either way, she got her revenge. Do you guys feel bad for the people who got fired that are under the VC or not? Let me know in the comments below. This one's titled, Boss wouldn't pay the money I earned, so I had his company shut down, and other fuck you moments. Last year, I started working for a local plumbing company that seemed promising. Would pay top dollar to employees for good old fashioned labour, so I signed a W2 and went on my way. Seems legit, right? I started out making an hourly wage, was given my own work van and was offered a work cell phone. However, if you use your personal cell phone, the owner of the company would pay your bill because you're using your own phone. How neat was that? Fast forward a month or two, I was forced to make commission based off every job and I didn't have a say in this, but 20% of every job you go to, hell, that's a lot of money in plumbing. So I was none the wiser. Eventually I found out that my paychecks weren't having any taxes taken out of them, so I asked my boss, why aren't I having taxes taken out of my check? To which he replied, when we switch you to commission, you're a subcontractor now. You're 1099. You're gonna be making so much bank now, bro. Don't sign a 1099 form, but okay. As the time went on, I started working 90 hours a week with no break. If my phone was turned off and the office folk tried to reach out to me and couldn't, they would take money out of my paycheck. The phone bill never got paid. There would be days where I wouldn't make a single dime because the boss would mess something up in our system. We also had no heat in our vans, and when it got to minus 14 degrees outside, his words to us were, go buy a freaking blanket. I can't afford repairs like this right now. While he is in Florida on a cruise, while his whole family, so like anyone else, I just up and quit. Fuck that. When I left, I asked for my check. I was owed 3 of them for the weeks I worked, but my boss wasn't ready to give them up yet. You fucked me over, and now I'm going to fuck you over, he said when I asked why he wasn't going to pay me. I offered multiple times for him to just meet me so this wouldn't have to go any further. He refused. I took to r/legal advice, bless them, and asked what to do. The response led me to a LARA, Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, to file a wage claim to get my money. But on top of that, I filed a report with them stating the company doesn't pull permits, which is required to do, when replacing people's plumbing, so they sent over an investigator to check these claims out. I then went to the IRS to find out this whole tax ordeal. I filed the proper paperwork to have the IRS check and see if there was misclassified as a 1099 employee when I should have been a W2 employee since they weren't taking taxes out. Sure as shit, I was wrongfully not getting tax taken out of my checks, so the IRS sent an investigator of their own. Now at this point, I see on my phone that I still have the email address linked to my Google account, so I do some snooping. It turns out they aren't paid in city taxes in over 6 years, and that the office manager, a woman who has verbally abused me time and time again, collects disability through the state but still collects a 1.5k paycheck from the company every week. You can bet ass I sent that in with the IRS. Screenshots included in my email. This is how it all unfolded. I have a friend that still works, or rather worked for them at the time. Sure you did, dude. And he told me about the investigators coming in. LARA fined them upwards of $50,000 for failing to produce the proper permits for our work that was performed. They also paid me what the company owed me with interest, since I was waiting over a month for those checks. On top of all of this, the IRS made them pay for my taxes at the end of the year, took away the office manager's disability, audited them because they haven't paid city taxes, and fined for each employee that they did this to. At this time as well, all of his fleet vans broke down due to wear and tear. This resulted in the company closing. When he asked me why I did all of this, my response was simply, "You fucked me over, so I fucked you over." This is why you don't mess with a man with his money, because once they lose their money, they have nothing, and when they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Anyways guys, that's the end of the story and pretty much the video. Make sure to pay people and don't be sexually harassing people. Peace out.